everybody. Thank y'all again for sending in images for me to work and to post on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on Danny Izzo's images, Nouveau Photo. This is Danny right here that you're seeing. This is his website. So thank you again, Danny, for sending that in. And so this is the image we're going to work of Danny's. And I know exactly where this is. I've been to that spot. Right across from Jack's Brewery in New Orleans. So thank you again, Danny, for sending that in. So again, this is straight off the camera, just like you see it, raw image. So one of the first things I do, like you'll see me do in many of my images, I go straight to the presets. And I have a default preset for portraits that, of course, is set to my camera. So whenever I click on that default preset, it's probably not going to be perfect. So then I have to make some minor adjustments. So one of the first things I do is I like to get the colors right. So I will go to my white balance, click the little eyedropper, and I'm looking for something that's 18% gray or something that is white. Now her shirt is pretty close, so let's click on it and see what happens. I got a little weird blue purplish look. So sometimes you can click on blacks. So let's try that. And I got a little too yellow, so I'll leave it there and just take off a little bit of yellow into the blues. And so that gets me really, really close. Now, it looks like to me Danny did a really good job of exposure here. I assume either that's the sun. Can't be the sun because I'm seeing all these clouds. So there has to be some sort of exterior flash that Danny used here. But what I want to do is make sure that I get in all tight on the face. And like I got really good exposure here. Everything else I can fix later in Photoshop, but I want to make sure that the skin and this kind of thing is right. So I'm looking in here in this little hot area right here, this little hot spot. Look like, you know, her skin, typically people's skin here is lighter than here. So I'm going to try to play with that. So I'll slide my little white slider in and out. And that ain't doing enough. Maybe my little highlight slider, that's not doing enough. So again, I'm going to have to kind of play with that a little bit in Photoshop. Let me take the clarity down just a little bit since this is a portrait and it doesn't have to be so stark. Blacks, yeah, I'm going to take that down just a little bit. And shadow, somewhere in there, should be pretty close. Let's take a look at the whole image again. Now, like I do oftentimes, I will add some vignette in here. Now, in this case, I think it's a little too much, so I'm gonna back off because kind of the surroundings is pretty fun. And as far as adjusting different color saturations and luminance and things like that, I might be able to tweak this skin just a little bit if I were to go into the yellows and oranges. Let's try that. Let's see if I take the luminance down on yellow. You can see it affecting the size of the build, and it's doing a little bit in her skin. And the orange, see, that takes it down, but that takes down her face too. So I don't know if I want to do that. Let me go back to 0 there. So it's one of those things where we're just going to have to kind of play with it a little bit. So I'm going to say done on that image. All right, and then like I always do, I'll go Tools, Photoshop, Image Processor. And the reason I do this is because, okay, I got the little spinning Photoshop wheel. Yeah, I know you're busy. Okay, so the reason I do this is it opens up this little image processor window. And it's basically, it's a step 1, 2, 3, 4. Step 1, I want to process one image from Bridge, and I want to put it into the same location. I want to save it off as a JPEG, maximum quality of 12, sRGB. I do not want to do any resizing. Now, if you work on TIFFs or PSDs, then that's fine. You change it to that. But to me, I like to use as few steps as possible. So I'm going to convert that thing into a JPEG. And I'm not going to be opening and closing it a bunch of times, so I'm not really going to be losing that much quality. The preference, I'm going to run an action, and it is my KV workflow portraiture first run action, since it is a picture of a people, and I'll run it. And what this portraiture first run does is it softens skin in a kind of a generic sense. So it just sort of does this overall softening. So let's go over here to this image and open it up in Photoshop. Now here's a fun trick. Now I'm not sure if Danny did this on purpose, or if it was an accident, or if it's just if he just didn't notice. But like the whole thing, the whole scene is leaning to the left. So like I'll show you what I mean. If I pull down a straight line on this bench, you notice that the bench is leaning, okay? If I pull out a straight line on the building is leaning. Now sometimes that can be distracting. Sometimes you do it on purpose. Okay, so it just kind of depends. But a cool trick to straighten that out, it's an old trick, but let me show you. You find, I hide that thing. Where is that ruler tool? There it is, ruler tool, and you draw a straight line on something that's supposed to be straight, such as this bench, okay? Just draw the straight line right on top. Then you go image rotate arbitrary, and it will automatically turn the image at whatever is supposed to be 100% straight. So as opposed to trying to fix that with your crop tool, you can always get it straight. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and crop in here to get off all that white stuff, and probably to about there. And I'm gonna say, yep, I like that. And if you notice, that straightened out the building and everything. Now, I guess, I don't know, now it kind of looks like the building's leaning to the right, but it's not really. It also got rid of that pole on the right-hand side that was kind of distracting me. Okay, so now that the image is straight, but again, I wasn't with Danny. He may have wanted it cocked like that. So, you know, that might be a mistake on my part, but we'll see. All right, so now I'm going to go into the face like I always do, and I'm going to start, you know, since it's a profile, I mean, the eyes it's not as critical as like one way looking both at her, so both at me. So I'm going to take my healing brush, and I'm going to start getting rid of bumps and blemishes and things like that. That's the first thing I'm going to do with this image. So I'm just going to kind of clean up all of these little bumps on her face like that. Okay. Most women do not like that line, so I'm going to take that out. I've actually had some request that I leave it in. Isn't that crazy? So you just never know what people like, so you got to ask. Now, again, because of the hard flash that's coming in, you see this distinct line that tends to make her nose look bigger than it really is. So I like to blend that, you know, myself personally. I don't like that hard line. So to fix that, again, with a healing brush, with a brush about that big, you know, take a sample from the highlight side and just sort of give it a little rub, and you will blend in like that. Now, sometimes it can get too much. Like that happened a little too much. Let's make a little bit smaller brush. Let's do it again. Okay, so there we go. We blend it now on the dark side. I'm going to blend it a little bit more. Then I'm going to blend that blended area. That's kind of funny. Blend the blended area. So if you take your time with it, you can make that harsh line turn into a nice gradual shadow. You know, transition from highlight to shadow, which is kind of, you know, that's what's going on right here. And so you can soften that up. Now, once you go down that road, you start seeing it everywhere. Let me get rid of that little bump right there, and that little bump, and that little bump. So now you see it down here. This is going to take a little bit more time to blend because of the bumps and skin texture. Okay, that's getting a little bit better. And if, you know, like I say, once you go down that road, you'll start seeing that harsh shadow in all kinds of places. And to get it out sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. But if you take your time and you don't get too fast with it, you know, you can get to where all those things have been fixed. Some of the lines in her clothes, I like to fix those kinds of things too. Oh, that one got a little weird. All right, how about that line? Soften those up. Okay. So, you know, then I start looking for stuff like that crazy blood vessel there in her arm. I'll get rid of that. I don't like the way that looks as far as armpits, so I like to clean all that kind of stuff up and make it look nice and soft and normal. Okay, just like that. Okay. Soften that line in her body. Okay. Looking better, looking better. Let's look at the whole image. Okay, yeah, looking much better. So because now, I think it's interesting that because this harsh line that was here and the nose and all those type of things have been softened. Oh, I'm seeing some more right here. Because all those things have been softened, that hot spot on her chest now becomes less. It's not quite so obvious and not quite so bad as it was to me as it was when we were looking at it in the raw file. See, it just kind of gradients on through, so it becomes a lot more fun to look at. So let me go back. Oh, wrong button. Sorry about that. Yeah, look at the whole image. All right. Yes, looking much better. So just as info, something that always kind of rubs me the wrong way is these overcast, dark skies. So to get rid of that, you know, everybody likes a blue sky. So I'm going to take my Dodge tool, put it over to highlight mode, turn off protected tones, crank up the exposure to 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub in this area, and I'm going to take the sky to pure white. Excuse me. Sometimes this can get crazy on the edges, and sometimes it works so smooth. Now here I'm seeing it ain't working as smooth as I would like for it to work, but it's still gonna work. All right, so I'm taking it all to pure white. Okay, all of that, which is not fun to look at, but I'm gonna show you why I'm doing that in a second. All right, I'm trying to get a nice definitive line on the building. If you wonder, what is Kirk doing? All right, nice definitive line on the building, just like that. That's better. It's going to be blurry back there anyway. Okay, nice straight line. Okay, anyway, we don't care about this tower. Let's get rid of this tower. Okay, good. Good. Now I have an action that I have set up, and I'm going to run the action so that I don't have to go find all the stuff. But it's part of my real estate package because I'm always adding blue skies. Okay? And I run it, and when I run the action, it stops. I'm gonna do this a little bit slower for you in a second, but it stops and it wants to know, you know, where's the white. So I click the white, make sure I plus in on all the white, click OK. And then what has happened now is it's selected all this white area. But notice it's also selected some in her shirt, which I do not want. So I take my paintbrush in white mode and at 100%, and I make sure that the only place I'm getting some green is in this sky area. Okay? Then I turn off quick mask, okay, and I select the opposite by going Command Shift I. Now the opposite is selected, and then I just click down here on a layer mask, and it knocks out all of that sky. And behind it, I already put in a cloud, a little bit of clouds, and so that comes in just like that. Because everybody likes a nice blue sky. Now that seems to be a little bit bright of a blue sky, so I'm gonna go to levels, and I'm going to take that down just a little bit, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm happy. If it bothers you that the edges of the building get a little hard like that, you can just simply go back into your layer mask, and you can, you know, clean that up a little bit like that. See? Just paint with black wherever you want to take off a little bit of the edge, like right in there. So, you know, but that don't bother me. Nobody's going to be looking at that anyway. All right, flatten. flatten, flatten, flatten. Okay, so now I got a nice blue sky, got a girl, but now, of course, when I did that, what I did to the sky, you know, I kind of took out all my nice little vignette. So I'm gonna run burn tool, highlight 30%, no protected tone, and I'm gonna darken all through here because again, I want you looking at the subject. I don't want you looking at my Photoshop work in the background. I want you looking at her. Okay. So now it's starting to go, oh yeah, it's right in on the subject, okay? Right in on the subject with a blue sky. Okay, cool. So, looking at it, she didn't really have that bad of a skin situation. And, you know, I guess I could go in with liquify if I wanted to and just take her eyeball up a little bit, you know, because she is kind of looking low. I could kind of do this. And I bet, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing this girl probably does not like her nose. She probably, all her buddies say something about her nose being big. I don't know if that's true. So I could just kind of do that just to kind of soften that just a tiny bit. Because, you know, you want people to feel good about themselves, okay? This neck area could be cleaned up a little bit. I don't like that shirt pooching so much, so I'm going to push that down just a little bit like that. And then if you notice, you got to be careful because by doing that, I kind of freaked out her arm back there, so I'm fixing that. This little bit that I was doing in the pit area had to be fixed. I also am always aware because I've had people complain about it. That's the only reason. Is see how her arm bends backwards. You know, some people that happens naturally, but you know, you can push that over a little bit in liquify and make it not so harsh. You know, touch up her waist just a little bit. Okay, yeah, I did that. Okay. All right, so good. In liquify, I'm like, okay, good, done. Let's look at the whole image again. All right, and so at this point, I have my my go-to action, which is that perfect soft action. Again, what it does is it runs portraiture and a whole bunch of other things. And so I'm going to select just the skin like that. Click run. Give her a lot of nice softness. Now this girl, by adding a little bit of warmth, see, it makes her a lot more fun to look at. So I popped up that warmth part of the action more. And yep, the contrasty part, I like what it did there. And then maybe just a little bit of a levels adjustment like that. Not too much. Yeah, starting to get good. Before and after. Good. Let me just check her legs because I do see a little bit of sheen here in the legs. Nope, that's looking good. That's looking good. Skin tone wise, that's all looking good. Arms looking good. Skin's looking good. Face looking good. All right, fabulous. I would say I'm going to call it and say that this image is done. Hopefully, you know, just watching the process helps you out some kind of way. Hope this was helpful. And if anybody else wants to send me some images to work, send them on. Y'all have a great one. Bye-bye.